right, guys. Thank you so much. I think you might have seen somebody like me here because.
Sorry, forget to mention that 10 minutes
Yeah, yeah.
pitching time and 5 minutes for the Q&A session.
Yeah, sure. So you might have seen somebody like me here. A better version is here right now, but so yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's an awesome weathered Saturday evening, but you guys are all here because you are part of a startup community. You want to contribute, and that's why I really love talking to people, startups. I'm Ravi. I'm the one of the co-founders of Icompaas. I actually am the employee one even before JP Jayapalmuru, who started the company. I was actually working for him in 2019 October. But yeah, this has been a very long journey and uh, a journey where we were able to understand and pivot a lot. But what I want to talk to you today is what is my pitch. I think JP did a decent job selling this to you, but let me try in another way. My approach would be totally in terms of operationally how this would work, right? Or if you're a small business, you want to quickly implement things, I'd probably guide you through that. All right. Once the end of the session, you could ask me questions, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So, what is Icompaas? Icompaas is basically it is infrastructure compliance as a service, right? So, if you're having an application that is in cloud, that is, you have a SaaS-based application that you are trying to build, and you are using infrastructure, public. That'll be great. Hello, yeah. So, so if you are thinking about solving your cybersecurity or security related issues, and you have your applications running on cloud, specifically public cloud, AWS or Azure, we can help. Somebody asked about, hey, how does a small guy, a startup, will be able to understand this, right? And this is where we'll say, use us. Recently, we are actually working with ahub to associate and help out all the infrastructure startups that are part of ahub NASCOM to basically give that first step, right? Before I tell you the story, before my 10 minutes run out, I will try to walk you through why we require it. I think some of these images are something that you just saw with JP explaining this. So let's start. So in our discovery, what we have realized is people are not thinking about cybersecurity right till the end of a product launch, or when there is an event that is going to happen. What is that event? Is an auditor coming in or a company coming in and saying, hey, we like your product. That is when the scramble begins to understand, hey, do you have the right processes and policies in place? And that is where we talk about compliance readiness, and where we can help you with making sure you're reaching to that event. So whatever that event could be, a company likes you and wants to take over your company, you want to expand to European regions, North American regions, that's where you could use that. So what we have identified is more than 1 million or 10 lakh customer companies, small and large companies, don't have a strategy in place. What this kind of associates to is we don't have a chief information security officer for more than 1 million startups and small businesses, right? That is kind of scary, because it is, because you need to have somebody taking responsibility of security, right? So I'll go more deep into that. Generally, CEO is basically taking care of all the responsibilities, right? So they are taking care of the technology aspect, they're taking care of the security aspect, maybe not so much security, but they're thinking about, hey, how do I secure some of these aspects, the website, maybe SSL certs, etc. And the other aspect is the financial aspect as well, right? When you are a company, owner of a small company, you'll have a lot of responsibilities that you will be able to do, you'll have to do, right? And this is where security is not on top of your mind, because you're thinking, okay, who's going to use my product, what are the feature sets that need to be there, how easy is it going to be for me to go to market, right? And this is where we want to help. I think this is a security as a whole. Again, I spoke about an event, right? Think about how your application is running today, right? It has to have some kind of a connection that you'll have to make with vendors. So you need some data. Let's say you are a HR management system. You have a lot of data that you have, maybe from Naukri or any other source. You have to feed it into your system and then process it and then do something with it, let's say, right? So what is happening is, do you know how safely they have stored that data? Because what you're processing might also go there and your data is going to be visible for them. And do you have the right controls in place? Whenever I say control, think about a policy, right? uh, is your data protected properly? All of these are controls, right? Sorry, how many minutes more? Finished. Okay, 4 more minutes. All right. So I'll skip through some of the points that I think you will notice that are similar. uh, Amount of time taken to identify a breach. Uh, yeah. So a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, currently plays the role of a Chief Security or Chief Information Security Officer, right? You want to understand the starting steps of where do we start. And this is where I think one of the easier ways to do this is using Icompaas, right? JP spoke to you about, this is called a, a taxonomy. What this talks about is everything that is related. Obviously, all companies will not have everything related, right? And this is where our tool is able to identify your technology framework, what is your technology stack, and then process this information automatically, right? I can, again, I'm available here. You want to talk to me about this? More than happy to talk. This is how the CISO Icompass or CISO bot site looks like, or application looks like. All right. All right. So this is one of the most important aspects of what we do, right? So let's say you are a company, you are doing well, and suddenly, let's say the government says, hey, PDP, right? Personal Data Privacy Law. You need to have this implemented, so that, because you are gathering customers' data, customer information. Now, for a layman, it might be, or for anybody, this might be a challenge. They have to first go to the website, download that policy, understand each and every piece of it, and then try to translate that into a technical aspect that they can understand, a policy that they can implement, and then put it in through the system, right? And this is where we can help. So there are also a lot of questions that companies would ask you, right? If you're, again, I'm talking about an event where somebody likes your environment and say, hey, we want to integrate with you, then that is the time when they are going to ask you that, hey, do you have this backup policy? Do you have, are you encrypting all your data? Or other questions like that, right? So we automatically generate policies for you, because we are able to see your infrastructure. Once we are integrated into your public account, public cloud, we are able to scan your infrastructure so that's where JP spoke about continuous compliance. So we scan your infrastructure every 12 hours, able to give you that, hey, these are the things that are not according to the they are not passing the check, right? All right. So this is actually a good segue to talk about the events. One of the events that I was not mentioning is compliance, right? So there is an ISO 27001 compliance, for security, or a SOC 2 compliance, that is for security, that you will have to do as a company. If you are a decent sized company, your application is working fine, I'm telling you for sure that an American based someone would say that, hey, I want to work with you. Do you have this compliance, right? And that's where okay. So that's where we can actually help you accelerate for you to get into the compliance area, right? So I guess I can talk a lot about this in terms of what we do, but we want to make sure that we want to empower the CTOs, the technology personnel, the operations team to have a better understanding of their overall infrastructure. All right, so yeah, that's what we want to do. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
Questions can we having
We are already helping a lot of people, so yeah. So very good question. So what happens when we give everything for free? One, nobody might care. Then people who are smart like you would say, ask that question: what would I get out of it? We are betting on small startups to become unicorns, right? Ahub is a very good platform where all of this is starting out. We have an ecosystem of 100 startups. I'm coming from Hyderabad. T-Hub is a combination of 1,000 plus startups, right? They have produced 7. If you guys know, how, can you please raise your hand if you know what's a unicorn? Okay, so unicorn is basically if your company's valuation reaches $1 billion, that's a unicorn. All right. So now we are saying that out of 1,000 companies, 7 companies were unicorns last year for T-Hub, right? Ahub is a budding small incubator that is going to takes the socks off of everyone. You know why? Because who is working in Bangalore? How many Andhra people from here are working in Bangalore? How many people are currently in different areas, right? The talent pool is awesome, and we totally believe in the Ahab story, because this is going to only grow. There is no other way this can lead to, and we want to be part of that story where we are at rightly at the initial piece, where we are helping the startups. And once you guys know, right, you will probably remember this, because once you have an event happening, somebody comes to you and say, hey, compliance, I almost think you guys will remember me saying, hey, somebody there, Icompaas, was talking about this. They knew what they were talking about, right? So we get to interact with initial stage companies who are going to grow. If you are passionate about what you're doing, we know you will grow, and we will grow with you. Oh, oh, okay. Sorry, yeah, I have that tendency, but yeah, sure. Thank you. All right, guys. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, I think I can speak from there.
I don't know if this is off topic.
Yeah.
About something called ethical hacking. It's the best form of defense is to attack. So,
Okay.
Is there any strategy that the company is?
All right. It's actually a very good question. Sure. So think about what you're talking about in terms of ethical hacking is talking about what is exposed for you, right? So JP also had spoke about something in this area. Whatever is exposed is what can be discovered online. So I have so many tools. So ethical hacking is principally talks about getting an acknowledgement from somebody before you're getting some kind of a testing done. White hat, they call it multiple things, but yeah, ethical hacking is a very important aspect in terms of what we're doing. Another important aspect is when your company comes in news, it's kind of a good and a bad thing, because people start looking at you, not your website, how your code, what is, do you have any open code in GitHub? Do you have something that is open somewhere, right? So ethical hacking is part of how eventually companies will have to handle whatever comes in, right? There is something called bug bounty. Have you heard of it? So companies actually openly say that we have a bug bounty kind of a policy, where if I have a bug, you identify that bug, I'll give you money for identifying it, or at least recognition, right? So ethical hackers would do that. They will write a email to you saying, hey, we have identified this, fix it. Once we fix it, we put it somewhere there saying, hey, this particular person helped us do that, right? So we have just to elaborate, we have a security operations team, right? We actually does that ethical hacking. Again, in India, uh, if you ask anybody, it's called VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. It's the cost in the US is huge. Penetration testing alone will cost you a huge amount of money, and startups cannot afford this, right? So yeah, that's where we have a team that actually helps out, does a initial passive scan, and then once we get an acknowledgement from you saying, hey, yes, can you do some digging into how our code is, if you're able to identify something online that is going to be bad for us, we do that for you, right?
Also, are the startups usually based on ethical hacking
Oh
and
yeah,
developers?
yeah. So I have been last 1.5 years has been a total roller coaster for Icompaas. I've visited US a couple of times, been to Chicago, California. What I've seen is there, and also in India. So when in India, I was at Kochi and also at Bangalore for major tech summits. What I have noticed is there are so many companies that have come up in India as part of the VAPT or the ethical hacking kind of a perspective. I've seen a young guy having a 250 member team who are only doing this. And so, yeah, there is a lot, but they are not automating any of those aspects, right? So, key thing is, even if you are a small guy, a small startup, you have a tool like ours, you're able to pull it in. We have something called Web App Scanner, gives you a basic 10 pointer OWASP top 10 kind of issues, right? So unless you take that first step of registering yourself into one tool, I'm not only talking about Icompass, maybe Cloudflare, right? You don't understand the impact that could be. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for the question. All right. I really appreciate all of your time, guys. Thank you so much.